The road to Mushin was crowded and loud, as always. Danfo buses stopped without warning, Okadas slipped between cars like fish, and the sun dropped slowly behind a haze that made the city glow orange. Richard walked beside Daniel along a narrow sidewalk for part of the way, then they boarded a kiki to save time. Richard was not used to public transport anymore, but today he did not care. His head still rang with the memory of the fire. His heart kept returning to the small hand that had pulled him away at the right second. The kiki rattled and shook as it sped through back streets. Daniel kept the curtain flap open so air could enter. "We will drop near the market," he said, raising his voice over the noise of the engine. "From there, my house no far." Richard nodded. He watched the streets slide by, mechanic yards with half-open bonnets, women frying puff-puff in iron pans, children running with bare feet and bright laughter. The city smelled of petrol, soap from laundry lines, and something sweet, maybe roasted corn. It was a Lagos he knew well long ago, and had slowly forgotten in boardrooms and air-conditioned cars. They came down near a row of wooden stalls. Vendors called out prices for tomatoes, peppers, onions. A radio somewhere played an old high-life song. Daniel lifted his empty tray from where he had left it earlier, picked up the few bruised oranges still on the ground, and set them inside. He checked quickly under the stall table where an older woman watched his things when he moved around. "Auntie Ruth, I don't come," he said with respect. The woman peered at Richard's neat clothes and expensive watch, then glanced back at Daniel. "Daniel, who be this man?" she asked, surprise on her face. "This is Mr. Richard," Daniel replied simply. "He is the man way him motor burn. I one carry him go greet my mama." Auntie Ruth's eyes softened when she looked at Richard again. "God saved you," she said plainly. "This boy gets sharp eyes." She pointed at Daniel. "He dey always notice danger quick. If he no talk, people for dey cry now." She clicked her tongue, then pushed the tray toward him. "Go house, your mama go worry." They left the market and turned onto a narrow street with low houses packed close together. Children played 10-10 under a mango tree, jumping and clapping in rhythm. A teenage boy washed a car with 2 buckets and a rag, whistling. Elderly men sat on stools, playing drafts on a wooden board. It was busy, but it felt like a neighborhood where everybody knew one another. "Mama!" Daniel called as they entered a small yard with 3 rooms facing a shared space. A line of clothes stretched across the yard, heavy with shirts and wrappers. Near a charcoal stove, a woman in a clean but faded dress stirred a pot of beans. She looked up quickly, worry on her face easing when she saw Daniel. "You are back," she said with a tired smile. Then she noticed the man walking beside her son and froze. "Mama, this is Mr. Richard," Daniel said in a rush. "Him motor catch fire for road. I see smoke. I call am. I pull am run. The fire blow." His words tumbled out, breathless, as if the past hour still ran fast inside him. Evelyn wiped her hands on a cloth and stared at Richard, unsure of what to do. She bowed her head slightly in greeting. "Good evening, sir," she said quietly. "You are welcome." Her voice was soft but strong, the voice of a woman who had faced many days like this and kept moving. Richard returned the bow, feeling suddenly shy in the small yard. "Good evening, ma'am," he replied. "Thank you for receiving me. Your son saved my life today." He said it simply, with full weight. Evelyn's eyes filled at once. She turned to Daniel and touched his face with both hands. "My son," she whispered. "God used you." Then she looked back at Richard, searching his face. "Are you hurt at all?" "No," Richard said. "Only shaken. Because of your son's quick mind, I am here." By now, 2 small faces peeped from the doorway, a girl of about 8, her hair in neat puffs, and a boy a little younger, holding a plastic toy car without wheels. Daniel's siblings, Blessing and Chinedu, stepped out, hands behind their backs, staring at the visitor like he was a story come to life. "Greet our visitor," Evelyn said gently. "Good evening, sir," the children chorused. "Good evening," Richard answered, smiling despite the heaviness in his chest. He had stood in glittering halls and fancy hotels, but this yard, with its dark floor, rusty buckets, and warm bean smell, felt more real than any boardroom he had entered in years. "Sit, please," Evelyn offered, fetching the one plastic chair in the yard. Richard wanted to refuse, so she would not stand, but he knew it was respect to accept. He sat carefully. Daniel and the children settled on a low wooden bench against the wall. The pot on the charcoal stove bubbled and hissed. Evelyn spoke first, to fill the silence. "We thank God for mercy. Fire is a wicked thing." Her eyes moved to Daniel again. "How did it happen?" Richard told the story in a few simple lines. How he sat in traffic, how he did not notice the smoke, how Daniel banged on the window and shouted for him to come out. He mentioned the hiss, the boom, the flames that rose like an angry mouth. He did not speak about the car itself. It felt foolish now to talk about an object when life had been so close to danger. As he finished, Evelyn's hand went to her chest. She closed her eyes and whispered a short prayer of thanks. Then she opened them and said to Richard, "I am happy you came to say this yourself. Many people would drive away. May God bless you." Richard's throat tightened. He shook his head. "Ma'am, you bless me by letting me sit here. I don't know how to say what I feel. Your son, there is a kind of courage that is rare. He did not think of money or his tray or even fear. He thought of another person's life." She smiled. Pride, soft and clear. "Daniel is like that," she said. "Even when there is little, he will still share a piece of bread. He is a child, but his heart is an elder." Daniel looked at his feet, embarrassed and pleased at the same time. Blessing nudged him with her elbow and whispered, "Hero," then hid her face when he glanced at her. Evelyn turned to the pot and served a small bowl of beans, then added 2 slices of bread from a paper wrap. She placed it before Richard with both hands, as one might place an offering. "It is simple," she said. "Please eat something." Richard hesitated only a second. In many fine places he had been taught with silent looks to refuse, to keep distance, but nothing in him wanted distance today. "Thank you," he said, and took the spoon. The beans were warm and soft, with a hint of pepper and smoke from the charcoal. He ate slowly. Around him, the yard took a deep breath and relaxed. Neighbors' voices drifted over the low wall. A radio laughed with comedy from a nearby room. A gecko darted up the cracked paint by the door. Life went on, steady and stubborn. When he had eaten, Richard wiped his hands with a small towel Evelyn had offered. He sat forward, elbows on his knees, looking at Daniel. "Tell me, Daniel," he asked gently, "do you still go to school?" The boy's shoulders fell a little. "No, sir," he said. "I stopped last year. I want to go, but my mama no fit pay all. I dey sell orange make we fit feed. I read sometimes, Shaw. I borrow book from Auntie Ruth's daughter." Richard nodded slowly. He had expected this answer, but hearing it still pinched his heart. He turned to Evelyn again. "How much are the fees for his level?" "Even when school says small money," she replied. "It is not small when rent is waiting, and medicine is waiting, and food is waiting. Daniel is clever. His teacher used to say so. But life—" She lifted her hands a little and let them fall again, as if dropping a weight she could not name. "Papa?" Chinedu tugged Daniel's shirt. "Will you go to school again?" His little voice was hopeful, too bright in the fading light. Daniel put an arm around his brother. "I don't know," he said softly. "We will see." Richard looked at the 3 children, the tired boy with steady eyes, the shy girl with puffs, the small boy with the broken toy car. He thought of his own son and daughter, their tidy uniforms, their school laptops, their bus that arrived at 7 a.m. each day with a soft horn. He felt a steady flame start inside him, not like the ugly fire that had eaten his car, but a clean, warm fire that burned for the right thing. "Daniel," he said, voice firm now, "you will go to school." All eyes lifted to him at once. The yard held its breath. "I cannot repay you for saving my life," Richard continued. "There is no money that equals a life. But I can do one thing that I believe is right. I will pay for your school, uniforms, books, everything, not only for one term, for as far as you want to go. That is my promise." Evelyn's mouth opened, then closed. Her hand flew to her head and stayed there. Tears filled her eyes, but did not fall yet. "Sir?" She struggled for words. "Sir, this kind of help—" "It is not help," Richard said gently, shaking his head. "It is justice." He looked at Daniel. "You saved me. Let me stand for you now, so your life can open." Blessing clapped once without meaning to, then hid her face again. Chinedu bounced on the bench, whispering, "School! School!" Daniel sat very still. He did not want to believe quickly. He had learned to make his hopes grow slowly so they would not crack. But the way the man spoke, calm, sure, like a father, built something strong inside him. "I will work hard," Daniel said. "I will not waste it." "I know," Richard replied. "I can see that." The neighbors, who had pretended not to listen but had been listening anyway, began to nod to each other. A few whispered, "God is good," and "This boy's life has turned." Evelyn wiped her eyes now, softly, as if embarrassed to be seen crying. She came closer to Richard and lowered herself to her knees. "Please, stand up," he said quickly, startled, but she raised a hand to stop him. "Allow me," she said, not looking up. "I am a mother. I know what it is when someone lifts your child from a pit. Bless you. May your children never lack help. May your days be lengthened." The words were not fancy, but they were wide and deep, stretching into the night like a covering. Richard stood and gently helped her up. "Amen," he said, voice thick. "Thank you, ma'am." They spoke then of practical things. Richard asked for Daniel's last report card if they could find it, and the name of his former school. Evelyn brought out a small nylon bag from a trunk inside the room. From it, she removed careful packets of papers wrapped in old newspaper. She had kept every certificate, every note. The report card was there, folded, edges soft from many hands. Richard read the comments. "Excellent in mathematics. Curious mind. Polite and hard-working." He smiled as he read, then placed the card back as if it were a glass object. "We will start with a medical checkup tomorrow," he said. "Then new clothes. Then we will look for a school near my office or near my home so I can see him often. If the school will take him now, good. If not, we will hire a teacher to bring him up to date until the next term. Daniel will stay with me during school days if that is okay. On weekends he can come home. And," he added, turning to Evelyn, "there will be support for the family. You should not lose the help he gives you while he studies." Evelyn tried to protest. "Sir, we cannot—" "Please," Richard said kindly. "Let me do this well. My wife will come tomorrow to greet you. You will meet her. We will make a plan together that keeps everyone strong." He did not say the exact amount or the details yet. There would be time for that. Tonight was not for figures. Tonight was for promises, for planting a new tree. Darkness settled. A neighbor switched on a small generator, and a low hum rolled through the yard. A single bulb lit up above the doorway, hanging from a wire like a moon. Evelyn served more beans for the children and a little for Daniel. Richard refused more food, not wanting to take what they needed, but he accepted a glass of water. He asked Daniel about the subjects he loved, and the boy spoke softly about numbers that made sense like songs, and stories where people changed and became better. He spoke about a book he had borrowed and read in the market when sales were slow, hiding behind a sack of onions to finish one more page. As they talked, two neighbors arrived with warm smiles and shy greetings. One was a mechanic called Peter. He shook Richard's hand strongly and said, "I saw the video on a boy phone already. Lagos is fast," he laughed. "You are blessed. This boy is our own. We watch him grow. He will not shame you." Another neighbor, a woman named Janet, patted Daniel's shoulder. "You see why I always say you should lift your head when you walk? God has lifted it for you." Richard felt the yard fill with something like music. Soft voices, kind hands, hope moving from person to person like a lamp passed along. When it was time to go, he stood slowly. "I will send a driver in the morning at 8, he said. "Daniel, be ready. Wear something comfortable. We will do the checkup first." "Yes, sir," Daniel answered. He wanted to jump, to run, to shout, but he kept still so the moment would not fly away like a bird. Evelyn walked with Richard to the mouth of the street. The night was cooler now. A breeze moved the clothes on the line. "Thank you," she said again, simple words that had to carry the weight of a mountain. "I will not forget your face." "I will not forget your son," Richard answered. "He is brave." They shook hands and he left, choosing to walk to the main road to think in the quiet of his steps before calling a ride. He passed the mango tree where the children had played. Now the street was a gentle river of low voices and laughter, small radios, the clink of spoons and plates. The city that had burned his car was the same city that had saved him. He felt as if he had been led by the hand from one room to another inside the same house, and the second room was warmer. Back in the yard, Daniel stood with his siblings under the bulb. Blessing stared at him as if he had grown taller. "Will you still sell oranges?" she asked. "Maybe not tomorrow," Daniel said, smiling slowly. "Maybe. I will carry books again." Chinedu pointed his broken toy car toward the door. "I will drive you to school," he said, pushing it and making engine sounds with his mouth. They all laughed, light and free. Evelyn put a hand on Daniel's cheek and searched his face, as if committing each line to memory. "You were born on a hot afternoon," she said softly. "And the midwife told me, 'This one will stand in the sun and not bend.' I did not know what she meant. Today I think I understand." Daniel hugged her, holding on longer than usual. "Mama, I will make you proud," he whispered. "You already did," she replied, "but make me more proud." They went inside. The room was small but clean. A mat lay on the floor for the children. A low shelf held cups and plates. Above it, a small Bible rested open, its pages thin and silver-edged. Daniel lay on the mat beside his brother and sister. The generator hum faded as someone switched it off, and the quiet that followed was soft, like a blanket. Sleep came slowly to Daniel. He saw again the thin thread of smoke, the way the man's eyes had widened, the bright mouth of flame. He saw also the other fire, the one that had started in Mr. Richard's voice when he said, "You will go to school." He felt it in his chest, warm and steady. It did not scare him. It asked him to rise. Far away, in a house of many rooms and soft carpets, Richard sat with his wife and told her everything. Margaret listened with a hand over her mouth, then lowered it and said, "We must do this well." She asked for the families' names, repeated them until they were firm in her mind, and began to list what a boy would need for school in the morning. 2 pairs of clothes, shoes that did not pinch, a bag big enough for books, a small notebook for thoughts. She touched her husband's hand and smiled, a smile that said she was proud not of the car he had lost, but of the heart he had found again. Lagos slept in pieces that night. Some houses went dark, some shone late. On one street in Mushin, a boy dreamed of numbers that walked like friends and stories that opened like doors. On another street in Lekki, a man dreamed not of profit and targets, but of a school gate opening, and a small hand letting go of a tray to hold a pen. Morning would come soon with its traffic and heat and shouts. But between this night and that morning, something had changed in the city. Two lives that had run on different roads now ran together, and for once, the distance between worlds felt small.